What up, Viking fans? And thank you for tuning in to the Skol State of Mind podcast. Now, our Minnesota Vikings have just kicked off joint practices against the New England Patriots. And before I dive into my reactions about what's being said around, joint practices, I'm going to talk about a couple of roster moves. Now, first off, Rondale Moore has been put on season-ending IR for the whole season. So basically, this is his second year in a row where Rondale Moore is going to miss a whole season of football. I don't know what that means for his career, but I do know what that means for him as a Minnesota Viking. I'm not sure if he's going to be back next year, but it's kind of a wait and see approach. So also, third round pick Brian Asamoah just got cut. Well, I'm a little late, giving you guys my response to this. He got cut as of right now. He's been claimed by the Tennessee Titans, which is good for him. And I'm not looking at this cut as a bad thing for, Asamoah, because I feel like the Vikings kind of gave him the opportunity, early before all the whole cut down, so he can actually get on a roster that can kind of cater to his skill set. So wish nothing of the best for Brian Asamoah. So it is what it is, man. But this is a big topic here. And so I gotta, hold my breath when we talking about this. I'm growing concerned about Justin Jefferson's hamstring injury. And my reasoning is I'm not sure if the Vikings are intentionally holding him out because of Jordan Addison is not going to be there the first 3 weeks of the season. And how would the Minnesota Vikings receiving core look without Addison for 3 weeks and Justin Jefferson being hobbled with a hamstring? I get that. I really do. But there are a lot of videos out there of Justin Jefferson jogging, jumping up, catching the ball with one hand. And I'm not saying that he's not injured as he is, but I'm just saying it's just growing concern. And if they are, hiding something and Justin Jefferson is more hurt than he actually is, then that's just the green light for the Minnesota Vikings to actually go out there and sign the veteran wide receiver in free agency. I think that will be the telltale sign if the Vikings actually go out and get a new receiver in the next couple of days. That can be two things. It could be Justin Jefferson's injury is, severe. Not wouldn't say severe, but his injury is a concern and they don't want to rush it too much and re-aggravate it. And they actually need another receiver, considering that Jordan Addison is going to be sidelined, suspended for the first 3 games. But that's just something that we all should kind of pay attention to because they've been slow playing it a lot, really a lot. So now that those two things are out the way, let's get into these joint practices. Now, some people out there don't really understand joint practices and why they are important to teams, especially young teams, and trying to get their development. It basically gives teams more reps in a controlled setting. Preseason games, you got guys coming in and out, but as with the joint practices, you're gonna have a kind of I wouldn't say a good rhythm going. Players are going to get way more reps this way against opposing teams, and they're not beating up on their own team back to back. So let's talk about McCarthy's offense. Now, word on the street is JJ McCarthy is up and down in joint practices. But are we surprised about that? I'm not. And I think it's expected. I think it's a little unfair to think that McCarthy was just going to go out there and just be this top 10 quarterback in the NFL when he's basically hasn't played in over a year. And when I say hasn't played over a year, he hasn't played any meaningful football in over a year. The last real game he actually played was the college title game. And I understand those quarterbacks that come into the league, like your Jaden Daniels, they come into the league and they just hit the ground running. But that might not be it for McCarthy. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over again, that it's going to be a process. There's going to be times where he is going to look bad. And there's going to be times where he's going to flash. He's going to look good. That's why it's up to the coaching staff to basically surround him with talent and, kind of shelter him. So when he does make those mistakes, it won't be so catastrophic. It won't just sink the whole ship. You get what I'm saying? And that's why the running game is so important. That's why the offensive line development and actually becoming a top 5 offensive line unit is so important, because all those things, with the fact that you have, a top 5 tight end in the league, you have quote unquote the best receiver in the league, you have an emerging young superstar receiver in the league in Jordan Addison. Combined with all those things, it should be okay for McCarthy to take his time and develop. I'm going to keep saying this, and I'm going to say it over and over again. I think the first 7 games is going to be a telltale sign of what JJ McCarthy is going to be. He might even lead the league in picks, but I think as the season progresses, his skill set will progress too. And the up and downs is just going to happen. It's the nature of football. But let's talk about a couple of these camp battles, right? So I understand the big buzz after the first preseason game was Xavier Scott. And I got the name right because I kept saying Xavier. Sorry, it's Xavier Scott. But I'm hearing he's having the same problems that Ty Chandler is having with the pass protection. And that was my biggest thing. Like, it's so easy to automatically crown guys and give guys a certain status when you see these guys popping. Oh my God, look at that run. Oh my God, look at this. And I do understand, like, it was with the third stringers, fourth stringers, probably against guys that probably won't even make an NFL roster. That's why we always have to be wary and let things play out. I'm not saying he's not going to make this roster. I'm not saying Ty Chandler's job isn't in jeopardy, but I am saying we have to let these things play out, because if Xavier Scott cannot pass block consistently, it puts us in the same situation with Ty Chandler. That's just what I'm saying. But other battles, since Rondale Moore has been placed on season-ending injury reserve, it's going to be interesting to see what receivers at the bottom of the roster is going to step up and actually take that spot. Because with Rondale Moore being on injured reserve, that creates one roster spot for somebody to take. I think Tai Felton is a guy that's going to like slide into that role. He might get help. And what I'm saying getting help is like Rondale Moore was able to be wide receiver 4, punt return, kick returner, and, come in and do some gadget play things, throughout the offense. And what I'm saying by Tai Felton getting some help, he might not be that person as of right now, but maybe he can do maybe 50% of that. And then the other guys can step in and do something else. That's just what I'm thinking, So let's just keep it moving. All right. Dallas Turner. Now, this isn't a big thing, but I just something I wanted to get off my chest is there's some word flying around the internet and social media, different, content creators or whatever they want to call themselves nowadays. But let's not feed into the narrative that Dallas Turner is a bust. And this comes off the back of Paul Allen, the Vikings announcer. He did his little radio show in Minnesota, and somebody cut a snippet of what he said, and it's basically talking about, Dallas Turner not getting a lot of reps, and Gabe Murphy is ahead of him in progression and stuff like that. And, Gabe Murphy had a great game against the Houston Texans over the weekend, and his development is real good. I get that. I really get that. But it just feels sometimes that a portion of our fan base really wants guys not to succeed, and they want guys to be a bust. And it gets so redundant, and it gets so irritating, because it's like, these are young guys, and maybe their first year, their second year, and especially in the instance of Dallas Turner, he's kind of stuck in a, like, I would consider a good spot, but it's not beneficial to him as of right now. And when I'm saying not beneficial, it's like, you have two Pro Bowlers in front of him. You have Jonathan Grenard and you have Van Ginkel, right? So he's not going to rob them of any snaps as of right now while he's still in his development. I think Dallas Turner is going to be a good player in this league. I think he's going to be a force for this defense, but it's just going to take some time. And when you tell Vikings fans that things are going to take some time, they immediately go to like Louis Seen and Andrew Booth. And it's like, okay, let's just be honest. Those guys are no longer on this team, and the people that brought them in are no longer on this team. So yes, they were wasted draft picks, but we have to move on, and we can't just give the same thing to every player that comes in that's taking them a little bit of time to actually, learn a defense or learn an offense, or just basically developing the player that they need to be. I just think the mindset of that little section of Viking fans is just so cantankerous, and it's so bad to the point it's like maybe nothing is good enough. And I do think that, because it's like, it's the complaints over and over again. And even when the team is winning, or the team is actually developing and doing good, like, we in practice right now, right? This is training camp. This is joint practices right now, right? That the whole basis of the situation is for players to get better, is players to get reps so they can get ready for the regular season. And you're going to have young guys who are going to need more time to actually develop and get better. Yes, somebody else might be getting more snaps. And that's the thing too. And I'm glad I said that, snaps. You can't base everything on who gets the most snaps here or who gets the most snaps there. Like, you really can't. And sometimes a lot of times players have different skill sets, and maybe that skill sets fits a particular situation at this time. And when we're getting things, from training camp or joint practices, we actually have no idea what the coaches are telling these guys to do, or what the game plan is, or what the scheme is supposed to be. We're just seeing videos. Like, I just want to be honest with that situation, So let's just jump back into this a little bit more of like training camp reactions. Excuse me. A couple of videos I saw, and when you're looking at videos that are like one-on-ones, and you see a receiver like break, and you're like, oh my God, like there's something there. But you have to understand also that in the actual game, there will be a defensive line and linebackers trying to get to the quarterback, and the quarterback might not have that time. I understand that you can simulate that, but it goes back to what I've been saying in the beginning of this whole offseason. Some of these videos and some stuff that comes out, through the media, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Now, Stephon Diggs was beating guys out there like drums. He really was. But who we talking about here? We talking about Stephon Diggs. Like, he's the whole guy. I'm him. That's Stephon Diggs. So it's like, it's granted. And I understand Stephon was going to come to Minnesota and actually put on the show. And it's no bad blood, because I actually see him, working with Tai Felton on the side on his releases. I see him talking to Keenan McCardell. That's that whole Maryland thing. So it's no bad blood, but we just gotta continue to take some of the videos with a grain of salt because the real bullets, are not flying as of yet. So now the Vikings and Patriots will have a preseason game this weekend. I'm really thinking about going live and actually, doing a watch party for that game to kind of, get my repetition up, and so I can try to get better. What I would like to see from that game is, first off, with the quarterbacks, I want to see the backup quarterbacks, especially Sam Howell and Brosmer, and even Brett Rippon, all three of them. I want to see them actually stay on pace with their development. I don't want them to go backwards. That's just for the quarterbacks. As for the receivers, I want to see someone emerge and basically take a spot. And what I mean by take a spot is I want a receiver this preseason game to come out and be like, look, I'm here. I need more snaps. All right. Like, I hear there's an opening. I'm stepping in for it. And I think that's going to be Tai Felton. For the running backs, we all know what the running back, battle is. Xavier Scott, Ty Chandler. I think that's really basically it for the running backs. Offensive line, I don't want to see the offensive line get pushed around, even if they are backups. Like, I just really want things in a nutshell to just be solid and for guys to continue to make progress in the right direction. Like, defense, like, there's not really much we can say about the defense because the defense has been playing lights out, and I think this is going to be a top 5 defense, hopefully. And I hope it stays that way throughout the whole season, because for the past 2 years with this defense has been good. Beginning of the season, mid-season, and it kind of falls off at the end of the season. I'm not sure if that's Ben Johnson or if that's just Sean McVay, but maybe we're going to have that conversation when we get there. But that's all I got for you guys. Just like I said, I'm probably going to try to go live Saturday during the game and look out for that live stream. And you guys already know how it ended. Skol, baby.